Hello and welcome back to Scoop with Coop. I'm of course Coop, and in today's video, we're going to be reacting to and analyzing Bleacher Report's ranking for the top 10 most stacked teams in the NFL. Now, before we go ahead and do that, make sure to go ahead and like and subscribe as it's absolutely crucial to the channel. We are so unbelievably close to 90 subscribers. I can't believe that, it's actually within reach. So make sure to go ahead and do that, as that'd be pretty cool. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. I'm not a fan of Buffalo at 10. So the first team up, Buffalo, I don't love it. I think they're a better team. Than the number 10 spot, because I feel like you fixed the weaknesses in regards to not having adequate pass catchers for Josh Allen. You kept your offensive coordinator and promoted him, which it was clear that in the locker room he was beloved. And so I don't mind that, and I think he is a good head coach, that being Joe Brady. And, I think the only thing that's, gonna take a step back is defensively, but I do think that they brought in talent on the, defensive side a little bit. Yes, they did lose, some defensive talent when it came down to, retirement or just, like, not insane talent, but also when you look at it, you brought in good players, in the case of Bradley Chubb and Geno Stone. So you got a couple of good players there, and then, you drafted some players as well. And if you can get good developmental growth from some of your younger players, because you have a young corner on the outside, if you're able to fix some of the weaknesses that you have, mainly run defense, if you can get that fixed, okay, there's not many teams really better than Buffalo. And 10 seems a bit harsh for Buffalo. In all honesty, I don't love that ranking because I feel like, Buffalo, they were just a couple plays away from being one of the final four teams in the NFL. And I don't like that. I don't like them being there. I think there are a lot of teams they are better than. Um, no, I don't think San Francisco is a better football team than Buffalo. Full stop. I think that, this team is constantly injured. And, I usually like to look at how, things fare based on the best case scenario of things. So if we're looking at this team fully healthy just by how good they are and who's going to play, I'd say this is a fair ranking for them. I just think that Buffalo is a better team than them because I don't know how great this passing and running game is going to look without George Kittle, because he is a pseudo tackle when it comes to blocking, and he's a consistently great passing or receiving tight end as well. So that's going to be a big loss. I don't know how well Mike Evans is going to look with them. I don't know how great Deebo Samuel is going to look with them. I'm not a big fan of it. Ricky Pearsall isn't going to play for you this year, I don't think, because I think he tore his ACL. But you don't have great, top tier talent, and there's a lot of question marks here. And defensively, you lost your defensive coordinator, and that's a big loss. Robert Saleh is one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. I don't think they are I would say flip them or put San Francisco at 10 and move Buffalo all the way up to 7. I don't I don't know. There's a lot of question marks for San Francisco. And I think that, yes, they finished 12-7. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I want to make sure, right? We're both seeing this, right? 8. 8. This team just won the Super Bowl and they only lost one key contributor. Yes, I don't think they're as good as they were. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. But that doesn't mean they're the 8th best team. I mean, sure, you lost Clint Kubiak. I think that with knowing what Darnold likes, knowing what all of the, knowing that Darnold properly knows how to operate in this system, or at least knows how to get the best of him. Also, running game, that's not going to take much of a hit. I think they're going to be a lot more balanced with their running attack, even though they were very much last year, because, you drafted a running back in the top 32, and Jadarian Price is a very good running back. There's a reason for that. It just so happened that he was the number 2 running back behind the guy who was, the number 3 overall pick. So obviously, Jadarian Price is a very good running back. Receiving, you didn't take much of a hit there. Blocking, you didn't take too much of a hit there. Pass rush, sure, you lost Boye Mafe. That isn't like a game changer. Secondary, you lost Tariq Woolen. Everyone knew he was gone. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Like, they didn't lose massive talent. The key contributors for what made this Seahawks team dominant are still there. I hate this ranking for them. I would say right now they should be a top 5 team minimum in the NFL. I despise this ranking. I despise it. So, oh my goodness. I despise this. I despise this. This team, sure, they get a little bit worse through like free agency defensively. Yes. Also, they brought in Jalen Waddle, so that's going to help out offensively. Their offense is going to get better. Bo Nix is going to keep improving. They already have a good offensive line. The running game, if they can play complementary, even whenever, even if, because it's like you don't need to be a great running game to open up the pass. Simply, if you keep working it, it'll work out, and that makes play actions like that sells play actions more if you have a good passing game. I don't like this whatsoever. Defensively, they're star-studded, and whatever. No way. This team, if they had a better quarterback, if they had better quarterback play in the conference championship, would have gone to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. They had Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback, and even if they didn't miss a field goal, if some of their decision making wasn't as questionable, this team is in the Super Bowl. I don't like this whatsoever. They're already one of the last 4 remaining teams. Then you also factor in, I don't know who's better than them. I don't like this whatsoever. Don't like it one bit. Don't like it one bit. I don't mind this ranking, however. Baltimore at 6. Baltimore, I think they improved on the head coach with Jesse Minter. He's a great defensive coordinator. And I think that as a defensive mind, at the very least, he's going to fix some of that, some of the issues defensively with this team where they start off the season slow. I think that gets improved. Yes, they did end up losing Tyler Linderbaum, and that's a big part of what made them so effective in the ability to run well on first down, free up space to call whatever you want on second down, either pick up that down or make it to where it's a third and short, and you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in a third and short situation, so that frees everything up. I do think that, like, Baltimore, I think this is a fair ranking for them. I absolutely agree. I think this is a perfect spot for them. I do worry a little bit about defensive line, where it's like you don't have Nnamdi Madubuike there again. Mark Andrews isn't as great. Marlon Humphrey, you worry about the age. He's slowing down a little bit. Lamar Jackson, the running isn't as great, but I do think that, like, I know I'm talking about a ton of negatives here. They did bring in an offensive coordinator who I love in Declan Doyle. There is a lot of talent here, and I really don't mind this. I don't mind the placement for the Ravens. This is a, like, fireable offense for whoever wrote this. Pittsburgh at 5. Are we for real? Pittsburgh is a better team than Denver and Seattle. Are we being serious right now? Because to me, it is an April Fool's Day. Aaron Rodgers is the worst quarterback on this list so far. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like you have an insane running game either. You have a good running game, but you don't have that defensively. I don't know if they're going to keep going with that same formula of we're going to just be very, very predictable in what we call on each, scenario. On third down, we're playing man. On first down, we're doing cover 3. Second down, we're doing cover 2. And on third down, we're just doing cover 1 man. Or we're doing like cover 1 hole or just something. Absolutely not. This defense isn't as great as they thought of. Defensively, they lost their real signal caller in Mike Tomlin. The only thing this team really excels at is special teams. So, no, absolutely not. All of their best players from last year are either older or, in the case of like two players being DK Metcalf and um, Joey Porter Jr., everybody else outside of that's older. They let go of a couple of like good players here. Don't like this whatsoever. I don't like this. I understand they brought in some players. I just don't love, Jamel Dean. They love bringing in 30-year-old corners. Jaquan Brisker, he wasn't great with Chicago. And then, Michael Pittman, sure. But like this team isn't really built to be a pass happy team. I worry about the offensive line a little bit, where you don't have some great offensive line play. I don't love this Pittsburgh team. Now I know that this ranking for Detroit being at 4 seems like it might be reactionary or like, whoa. I really like this. I really, 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 really do like this Detroit team going into next year. I know they lost Terrion Arnold. He wasn't great to begin with, and obviously he has his own issues. Um, they brought in a ton of talent. You also factor in that like your offensive line was booty cheeks last year. That got improved by, one of the best consistent blockers coming out of this class in the case of Blake Miller. Running the ball, you brought in an offensive coordinator in Drew Petzing, where yes, he's not the greatest pass game coordinator and not the best, like, not great when it comes to the pass. But you have Jared Goff for that. And boy, that guy can coordinate a run game. Not many running backs truly better than, just Jahmyr Gibbs. And also, Isaiah Pacheco as a running back, too, is perfectly fine. Don't mind it. Defensively, I think this defensive, unit, if they can improve on last year and build on a couple of the things, if they can get a bit more health than they had the previous year, don't mind it. I think this is a really nice football team, and I don't mind this placement for them whatsoever. Although I am a little bit concerned because a couple of the big teams that you would have thought of, like I don't know if the Chiefs are going to make the rankings for this team or for this list. You have the Texans. You have the Chargers. Where are they? You have the Eagles. You have the Rams. Where are they? Don't feel great. The Packers, they should be on this list. They're better than the Steelers by far. Don't love this. Maybe even the Bears, if people want to be on the hype train. No, I'm not a fan of it. Okay, I don't mind the Eagles being up here because I guess if the assumption is if you can get Jalen Hurts' issues worked out, you have a better locker room than you had in years past. Defensively, you're just as good, if not better. Um, all while, also you have the young talent coming in, you have the young talent getting brought up. Your issues, you fixed them. Yeah, I really like how this, offseason went for the Eagles, and I think that they can really improve on, last year. Like we'll just look at like defensively, right? You lost Reed Blankenship, you lost Adoree Jackson, which yeah, those are decent contributors. You replace them with Tariq Woolen. That's very nice. Andrew Makubai can be brought up. Marcus Epps, if that's your weak spot, through your defensive back room, okay, cool. Linebackers, Zach Bond, all pro. Jahad Campbell, he could very much improve off of last year. Perfectly fine with that. Then you have a, backup rotation of, linebackers. Then pass rush only improved. You lost Jalen Phillips. You traded the comp pick you're going to get for him for Jonathan Grenard, which he did have a pec injury, but it doesn't look like he'll miss like the season or anything. He'll play a meaningful amount of games throughout the course of the year. Defensive tackles, you're solid. Edges, if you can get some improvement there, you're golden. Um, I don't mind that whatsoever. I think this is a very nice defense. Offensively, right? If they run some of the stuff that they had ran in Green Bay under Sean Mannion, even though, Sean Mannion was uh, not the head, he wasn't like the play caller, but like he was a key cog of what made Green Bay's offense look the way it did. And some of that stuff Jalen Hurts excels at, and other stuff, if he can get through to Jalen Hurts and get him to run that stuff, I don't mind it whatsoever. Offensive tackle wise, did a whole extra month to physically heal because they all of them basically came into the year last year hurt, especially in Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson. And then also, receiving wise, yes, everyone wants to talk about AJ Brown being gone. I think that might be an addition by subtraction type of thing, where it's a thought in the back of your mind that we have to get this guy the ball or else he's going to freak out. You also have a much deeper receiving room than you did previously, where you brought in Marquise Brown, you brought in Dontavian Wicks. You really paid a premium for a good receiver in Mekhi Lemon. Even at the tight end room, you improved, right? Brought in Eli Stowers. This team improved. Saquon Barkley, if he can get healthier, and like be more refreshed, don't mind it. Jalen Hurts, it was very clear towards the end of the year that he had an injury, or at least that he was playing with something. He looks like he's lost some weight. He looks good. And he is by far, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. And I will not, I don't buy into the narratives around him. In my opinion, he excels at what matters the most, even though it doesn't look pretty. I think number 3, perfectly fine ranking for them. Who is above the Rams? Who? Who is above the Rams? This Rams team was a game away from the Super Bowl. They improved on all of their biggest weaknesses. Meanwhile, once again, they're a team that's going to hit in like the 4th round. Who? Who is better than this Rams team? Defensively, improved a ton. Offensively, they were already a great offense. They didn't lose a ton of premier talent. This is the number 1 player in the NFL. Myles Garrett. He brought in, right? You're bringing back probably Aaron Donald, who is he going to be the same? Is he going to reach the same heights that he did, in his prime? No, but also he's still a very good player, probably. Oh, you just have a very nice, defensive group of, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Puna Ford, and Byron Young, right? So you have like 6 guys who are all very nice on the defensive line. Linebacking group, you're perfectly fine with how it is. Then secondary, you retooled it. You brought in Trent McDuffie, brought in, Jalen Watson, I think is his name? Yeah, you brought him back, or brought him in. Offensively, you have Sean McVay, you have a good running game, you have a good offensive line, and you have your 2 receivers. I don't know who's better than this team, seriously. I don't know who. But I can't think of a team that's better than this. I don't know. Okay. All right. I want to make sure this is very clear how I feel about this. Absolutely not. In no universe is this the number 1 team in the NFL. If you have question marks at quarterback, parts of your running back, your offensive line, and play calling, no. We'll start defensively, right? This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. I can understand that. Absolutely. But I worry about, offensively. CJ Stroud, is he the same quarterback as we thought he was? Because I thought he was a Drew Brees comparable player when it came down to anticipation and all of that. That hasn't been there. Offensive line, if they retooled it adequately. Receiving group. We worry about if Tank Dell's coming back, and when he does come back, if he's as good as, we thought he was. Or at least, is he as good as he was? Running game. We haven't seen David Montgomery be the number 1 back in a running game in a while. And the last time we did, it was a while ago. And when he previously was on the Lions, he had a pretty decent line or offensive line comparable to Houston. Absolutely not. This is not a good I don't like this. I absolutely despise this ranking. If I had to pick, I would say Houston is a lot more comparable to a Baltimore and like to a Baltimore and a Buffalo. I think that's where they are comparatively. Then again, Pittsburgh at 5 is an abomination. But I disagree with this ranking. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with me on this. But this has been the Scoop with Coop. I'm of course Coop, and until next time, so long everybody.